All right, joining me in the studio is Dr. Dele Ashiru, the chairman, ASUU, University of Lagos chapter. Dr. Ashiru, good morning. And let me say congratulations. Should I say congratulations for resuming from the strike or suspending the strike? Let me say.
Well, good morning and thank you for this invitation. Yeah, it's okay to say congratulations, particularly to Nigerians, parents, students who bore with equanimity. I mean, this long-drawn battle between our union and government. But it's instructive to also say, like it was pointed out, that this is a conditional suspension of the strike, giving government's propensity not to honor agreements. I mean, the contentious issue actually is government's unwillingness to, live up to its own billing each time an agreement is reached in this manner. We therefore want to put Nigerians on notice to please continue to mount pressure on government to do the right thing.
All right.
So that we can put paid to strikes.
I want us to be able to utilize this time adequately so we can educate and enlighten the people more. Can you walk us first through some of these conditions, the conditions that you are putting in place for government to look at before, in case, because the president has said if the government reneges, you're still going to go back on strike?
Yeah, most of the issues in contention, we got mere promissory note from government. You were to pay to revitalize the university. What do we mean by that? Put books in the library, reagents in the laboratory, expand infrastructures in the universities. Government says it's going to pay the money on or before 31st of December. So one will only hope that government lives up to that promise. We are being owed arrears of salaries on account of the strike. Government says it's going to pay installmentally. Our union agreed, not that it's so acceptable to majority of our members, but we thought that, okay, haven't come this far. And at this point, we could give government the benefit of the doubt once more. So government says it's going to pay our salaries installmentally, not later than 31st January. And we say, okay. So we are thinking that government should be able to live up to all of these promises. Because the consequence will be that if by 31st January, for example, some or all of these promises are not met, our union would have no choice, but also to, put the issues before government once again. So these are the conditions. Government had made promises. They had claimed that they were going to do X, Y, Z. For example, the visitation panels were to be announced before 31st December. We are hoping that that is done. Renegotiation of the 2009 agreement is ongoing. Our union is satisfied with the pace of work. We hope that nobody will throw spanners in the work this time around. So the point we are simply making is all of the terms of the agreement leading to this conditional suspension should just be faithfully implemented by government as promised.
Yeah, but the 2009 agreement that has been the crux of this issue, it was part of that kind of gentlemanly agreement and conditional things that we're still here. So what makes this different from the 2009 agreement? Because after 2009, there was another agreement, rescheduled agreement that was made, and then all of these agreements were made, and ASUU agreed, and here we are still going on strike again. So what's the difference?
Well, you see, the contentious issue is the 2009 agreement, which was to be reviewed every 3 years. Yeah. Since 2009 till date, there hasn't been any review. Now, in between, there has been this conscious attempt by our union to, pressure government to do the right thing. Now, in 2013, we had what is called the Memorandum of Understanding. In 2017, we moved away from Memorandum of Understanding to Memorandum of Action, which means that by so date I will do X. Government didn't do it. By 2019, there was another MOA, which is the basis of this ongoing strike action. So what we can only say is for government to change its attitude of not bound by an agreement once it entered into it.
Yeah.
There's really nothing our union promised to do that we have not done. But it seems that once this strike is conditionally suspended, everybody is happy, everybody is relaxed, and they care less about the fate of Nigerian university system and those who moil and toil for the development of the human capital in the country. And it's so unfortunate. So what we want to do now is first thank those who intervened to get us to where we are. Chief of Staff to the President, Chairman, Governors Forum, other well-meaning Nigerians, you members of the press too, for bringing the issues in the front burner all the time. And to also implore all of these, critical stakeholders to still keep on the pressure until government does what is right.
Yeah.
And we put these strikes behind us.
One would have expected that since you have been on strike for 9 months, for almost a year, and the issues that we're talking about that became contentious from 2009, and then in 2013, and then in 2017, and then in 2019, from one step to another, one would expect that those issues ASUU would have compelled government, instead of making a promise and saying, okay, by so date, we are going to do this, that government ASUU would have compelled government to actually do some of those things before resumption.
Well, that was our desire. That's what we wish to do. But you see, as a union of intellectuals, we must also be sensitive to our environment. And no lecturer can be happy being out of classroom for 9 months.
Yeah, but would you consider staying outside of school for almost a year as being sensitive right now? Because one would say you would have been that would have been sensitive before now.
You see, before now there was nothing on the table. Government was unwilling to do anything.
Yeah.
Indeed, those talking for government were making jest of the issues. Can you imagine a minister of state in the Ministry of Education asking teachers to go back to the farm during the process of this strike action? Rather than put that question to ASUU, that question is better put to government. Because look, whether we agree or not, it is the business of government to educate its citizens. And the responsibility to keep the education system going lies squarely at the feet of government. And here we are. Those who are superintending over the education system in Nigeria are behaving as if Nigeria is not within the global community. Serious societies in the world don't joke with their education system. So, there are only two options. Suspend the strike conditionally like we have done, or insist that until all of these demands are met, we won't go back to school. And we looked at all the options, and government kept insisting that given the socioeconomic situation in the country, this is how far they can go, and that they are going to do in future within a time frame those other demands that we are making. I think it's only fair, in keeping with principles of negotiation, to do what our union have done.
Right. And the fear of Nigerians is that because it was the same excuse that was given in 2009, considering the socioeconomic activities or the nature of things in the country right now, we promised to do blah, 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 blah until, and then it was not met. It was the same excuse that was given in 2013, same excuse in 2017, same excuse in 2019, same excuse now in 2020. So by January 31st, 2021, when government is not able to meet the same conditions, ASUU goes back on strike. You negotiate again for another long period of time, and then another promise is given. So is it not the same cycle?
So maybe they take away from, this position, if I take it as an aggregate of opinion of Nigerians. What you are simply saying is that we should still be at home.
No, the point there is, what I'm trying to ask is that one is looking at the impact of the strike on the issue right now. Because if we have to draw them together, the deed is done already where a whole session, almost a whole session is lost. And as at this time, after a whole session is lost, we're still talking about the condition that government is still making promises instead of bringing government to the table. So one is thinking that, is this pressuring government enough to come to the table and have your promises delivered?
You see, I think the way to frame it actually is to say that this battle that ASUU fights all the time is actually a battle for Nigerians. I have my degrees. But ASUU's argument is that no Nigerian should be denied access to university education on the basis of ability, to fund that education.
Yeah.
And if that is the situation, it is the duty of Nigerians, not ASUU alone. ASUU is always singled out for vilification each time we compel government to do the right thing. Whereas the children of Nigerians, the children of the masses of Nigerians who otherwise will not have access to university education are the ones who bear the brunt. Most of those people who negotiate on behalf of government don't have their children in Nigerian universities. And that's one of the challenges. So what I am saying is all of us should join hands to compel government to say, this time around, don't renege. It's not to single out ASUU to say it's the same circle. Okay, if it's the same circle, are we going to close the universities perpetually? Certainly that's not an option. The only viable option is for all of us, Nigerians, politicians, artisans, professionals, market women, all of us, to say, government, this time around, do what is right.
Okay. All right. Pushing the issue further, from this negotiation that ASUU have had or has had with the federal government, where about 40 billion naira is promised, SANU, on the other hand, and the NAT or NAAT are saying that they don't agree with the terms of the deal, and they are also spoiling for their own version of strike. What do you make of this?
Well, you see, every union has a right to defend the interest of its members. So I concede to SANU, NAT, NASU, the right, to defend the welfare of their members. But you don't do that at the detriment of another union. We've been on strike.
But ASUU as the senior union or as the elder brother...
They don't agree that there's a senior union.
Okay, fine. Let us assume that they're not senior. Let us assume that all of you are colleagues.
All colleagues.
All of you are all
yeah.
colleagues,
Yes.
But the point there is, if you are negotiating, you know certainly that, because they have been talking about the issue of carrying them along in the whole process. You know too that the SANU and NASU and all of that, if they too embark on their strike, it also impacts on what you do.
Well, I don't want to be dragged into the
politics
politics
of course, yeah.
But let me just provide some facts. Now, we've been on strike for 9 months. Within that period, some of our members were not paid for 9 months. I have not been paid for 6 months because we are insisting that government must do the right thing. Now, in the processes leading to this agreement, a group of people who were collecting their salaries, they were not bothered about the system. They weren't agitating like we did to challenge obnoxious policies of government within the system. We then come up to say that, secondly, the money in question is not philanthropy. It's not charity. It's earned. The basis of releasing the 40 billion is on the calculation made by ASUU. I challenge other unions to bring to the table whatever calculations that they have. We are able to say government by verification, audit, presidential continuous verification audit. The claims that we made, everybody, every individual calculated his own. On the basis of that, we put before government. And on the basis of that, government is releasing money. Now let any other union within the university system bring out a calculation to say, between this period and this period, I've earned this allowance. Right. So what Nigerians should note is that the money is not a dash. It's an earned allowance. And if you earn an allowance, you should be able to bring your calculation, verifiable calculation, to the table. So that's the issue. And the money is not arbitrarily shared. It's shared based on calculations that were made. And if you don't have a calculation, how do you make a claim to a money you were not even part of the negotiation? So we should come clean. Every union has a right to hold government to minister to the welfare of its members. But no union should lash on the sweat of other union to then make, frivolous demands about, allowances within the university system.
Okay, so it seems like the unions within the university are not on the same page on many of the issues from what you're saying now. But
we don't have to be on the same page. Our job schedules are different. Our interests are different. The only thing is that the government who is responsible for regulating labor relations should do the right thing within the university system.
All right. We'll certainly have time to talk more on this because there are other dimensions of this. We recall that some of the students who are staying off campuses, landlords have been telling them, you must pay for the period of time that you guys are not around. But we'll talk about all of those and even what NANS is demanding to be part of further or future negotiations. But thank you so much, Dr. Adele Ashiru, Chairman ASUU Unilag Chapter. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
Yes.
Thank you for the support all through the strike. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.